My wife started acting cold and secretive at night, so I checked our bank records and found out she was lying. Then she admitted to an emotional affair with a coworker. I've been married to my wife, Emma, 32F, for nearly 8 years now. We met in our mid-20s, hit it off quickly, and were married within 2 years. I'm 34M, and for the longest time, I thought we had a pretty solid marriage. Nothing perfect, of course, but we had routines, laughter, little rituals like Sunday brunches and movie nights with our daughter Sophie, who's now 5. That's why it hit so hard when things started to feel off. It didn't happen all at once. At first, I brushed off the signs. I figured maybe work was just getting to her. She has a demanding job in marketing at a fast-paced tech company, and sometimes they expect people to be available even after hours. But little things started piling up. She became more distant, both physically and emotionally. Our conversations grew shorter. She started going to bed earlier, claiming she was tired, but she'd take her phone with her and lie facing the wall. It wasn't like her. Emma was never secretive before. We'd always had this unspoken openness with each other, but now she was putting up walls I couldn't see over. She began going out at night more frequently. She told me it was for team dinners, networking events, or meeting up with old friend from college. I didn't question it much at first. I wanted to be the supportive husband, the trusting one, but something in my gut felt wrong. I remember the first time the feeling became too loud to ignore. It was a Thursday night, around 11:30 p.m., when she came home wearing heels and a sleek black dress I hadn't seen her wear in years. Her hair was done, makeup flawless, and she smelled like the perfume she used to reserve for special occasions, date nights, anniversaries, weddings. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to watch something on Netflix, but mostly just waiting. She walked in like nothing was out of the ordinary, gave me a quick smile, and said, "Sorry I'm late. Dana wanted to get drinks after dinner." Then she disappeared into the bedroom before I could ask anything else. Dana? She hadn't mentioned Dana in years. The next morning, she acted like everything was normal. Made coffee, kissed our daughter goodbye, checked her phone constantly. That's when the seed of doubt turned into something heavier. It sat in my chest like a rock I couldn't shake. I started paying closer attention. I noticed how she'd go out 3, sometimes 4 times a week. How she'd come home looking refreshed, not exhausted. How she never invited me along, even though I used to know most of her friends. I tried to talk to her one evening. I asked if everything was okay between us, if she was feeling overwhelmed, or if we needed to do something different. She smiled gently and said, "I'm just tired lately. Don't overthink it, okay?" And then she kissed my cheek and went upstairs. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. I wanted to believe we were just in a rut and that things would go back to normal if I gave her space. But I couldn't ignore this sinking feeling anymore. It was like watching a ship drift farther and farther from the shore while I was standing still, shouting into the wind. And I started wondering, if she wasn't with Dana, or her co-workers, or whoever else she claimed, then where was she really going at night? I wasn't ready to confront her yet. Not without proof. Not while there was still a small part of me hoping I was just being paranoid. But soon enough, I'd have my answer. And I'd wish I hadn't gone looking for it. After that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I didn't want to become that guy, the paranoid husband snooping through his wife's stuff. But when someone you love starts slipping through your fingers, it's hard not to claw for anything solid. Emma and I have a joint bank account that we've used since the first year of our marriage. It was mostly for shared expenses, bills, groceries, things for Sophie. I never paid much attention to it because we both had our own separate accounts for personal use. But I remembered she'd used the joint card that Thursday night, the night she said she was with Dana, so I figured there might be a clue there. I logged into the account the next day while she was at work. I felt sick doing it. My hands were literally shaking. And then I saw it. There was a charge for a fancy downtown restaurant. One I recognized because it's where we'd celebrated our anniversary 2 years ago. The timestamp was 8:47 p.m. on the same Thursday night. It wasn't some casual bar or cafe. This was the kind of place you made reservations at weeks in advance. Romantic, dim lighting, pricey wine list, the whole 9 yards. I scrolled further. 3 nights before that, another restaurant, different location, $112. A few nights before that, a wine bar, then a florist, then an Uber at 1:10 a.m. The pattern was crystal clear. Emma wasn't going out with Dana, or her co-workers, or any of the people she'd claimed to be meeting. I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. All the doubts I'd been trying to suppress came rushing in like a flood. I stared at the screen, not wanting to believe what I was seeing. But denial was no longer an option. I didn't know who she was meeting. I didn't know what was happening behind closed doors. But she was lying, repeatedly, with effort, with intention, and that broke something inside me. I took screenshots of everything, just in case. I'm not sure why. Maybe a part of me was preparing for some kind of confrontation. Or maybe I just needed proof that I wasn't going crazy. That night, I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I just watched her as she came home late again, this time with a paper bag of takeout and some flowers. She said they were from a coworker for finishing a big campaign. I nodded. I even smiled, but inside I was unraveling. Over the next few days, I kept tracking her spending. I even opened a spreadsheet. Yeah, pathetic I know, and logged the dates, times, locations, and amounts. I was trying to find a pattern, something that would point me to the truth. Then I noticed a name that kept coming up on Venmo, Brian. It wasn't public, just in her transaction notes, but there were a few emoji-filled messages between them in the past month. Things like, wine last great night, thanks again. Hot beverage, don't forget our coffee tomorrow, smiley face. Party popper hope next week is just as fun. That's when the name clicked. Brian was someone she'd mentioned before, a team lead at her company. I met him once at a company picnic a couple years ago. He seemed friendly, tall, charming, talkative. I didn't think much of him back then, but now, he was showing up way too often for my comfort. I didn't have hard evidence that she was cheating in the physical sense, but I knew something deeper was going on. Something emotional. Something she used to share with me. The secrecy, the effort to hide it, the smile she saved for someone else, it all pointed in one direction. Emma wasn't just pulling away from me. She was giving parts of herself to someone else. I sat in the living room for hours that night after she went to bed, just staring at my laptop. I thought about all the times I'd asked her if she was okay, all the times I believed her when she said she just needed space. She didn't need space. She needed someone else to fill it. And now, I had to decide what to do with the truth. I don't know what finally pushed me over the edge. Maybe it was the 4th dinner charge in 2 weeks. Maybe it was seeing her come home one night, giggling at her phone, cheeks flushed like she just had the best night of her life, while I sat there on the couch, invisible. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know anymore. So the next night, after Sophie was asleep, I asked her to sit down and talk. I could tell she wasn't expecting it. She looked nervous, like she knew something was coming but hoped she could dodge it. I started with a simple question. Who is Brian? She blinked, froze. That half-second pause told me everything. She tried to recover. He's just someone from work. What? Because your Venmo says otherwise. So do the dinner charges, and the florist, and the Uber rides. Emma, come on. The air in the room turned heavy. Her expression shifted, shock, then fear, then something else I couldn't place. She didn't speak for a long time. Then finally, she said it. Nothing happened. It's not what you think. I was too tired to shout, too emotionally drained to be angry. So I just asked, then tell me what it is. Please. She looked down at her hands and started talking, slowly, carefully, like she was choosing each word with surgical precision. She told me that Brian was her team leader, that they'd started working more closely during a recent campaign. Long hours, late nights, shared stress. At first it was just small talk, then longer conversations, then lunches that turned into dinners, texts that turned into late-night chats, emotional support, venting about work, about home, about us. She insisted they never crossed a physical line. He's never touched me, she said, tears in her eyes. Not once. But I talked to him about things I should have talked to you about. I know that. It was like getting stabbed with a blade made of ice. I didn't care if they hadn't slept together. The betrayal wasn't in a bed. It was in every secret text, every lie she told me when she walked out the door, saying she was meeting Dana or her co-workers. She didn't choose me in those moments. She chose him, over and over. I didn't mean for it to happen, she whispered. It just felt good to be seen, to be heard. That's the part that gutted me. I always thought I was a good husband. I cooked dinner. I helped with Sophie's bedtime. I sent her flowers at work on her birthday. But somehow, I'd missed it. The slow erosion. The way she stopped feeling connected. Or maybe she never told me because I never asked. Still, nothing can justify what she did. She made a conscious choice to lie, to hide, to build something intimate with someone else while telling me everything was fine. I asked her flat out, "Are you in love with him?" She didn't answer right away. That pause, it felt longer than the rest of our marriage combined. "No," she said eventually, almost in a whisper. "But I could have been, if I let it keep going." That's when I stood up and walked out of the room. Not because I was mad, because I couldn't breathe. I spent that night in the guest room. She didn't come in. I don't think I slept at all. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell he got here. What do you even do when the person you love admits they were emotionally halfway out the door, while still sleeping in your bed, kissing your cheek, raising your child beside you? There's no script for that kind of pain. I kept hearing her voice in my head. It just felt good to be seen. It made me wonder when she stopped seeing me, and if I ever really saw her anymore either. The days that followed her confession blurred together like a long, gray smear. I was still functioning, waking up, getting Sophie dressed, going to work, but emotionally, I was sleepwalking. Emma and I barely spoke. When we did, it was stiff and polite, like two co-workers awkwardly sharing a break room. The air between us wasn't angry. It was worse than that. It was hollow. I stayed in the guest room. The mattress was thin and uneven, but at least it gave me distance. Every time I passed by our bedroom door, I could feel the weight of what used to be. That space wasn't mine anymore. Sophie was the only reason we held it together. Around her, we pretended, smiling at breakfast, reading bedtime stories, showing up at preschool parent meetings. We didn't want her to feel the shift, but kids know. Even when they don't understand the details, they feel the silence. They hear what's missing. Emma asked me once, softly, after Sophie had gone to bed, "Do you want to talk?" I shook my head. Not yet. What I really meant was, I don't know if there's anything left to talk about. A few days later, I confided in my best friend, Jake. We've known each other since college, and he's always been my reality check. I hadn't told anyone until then, not even my own brother. I think I was embarrassed, not just by what Emma had done, but by the fact that I didn't see it coming. Jake listened quietly as I told him everything, from the late nights, to the bank records, to her confession. When I finished, he said something I didn't expect. "Do you want to save this marriage?" I hesitated. The truth was, I didn't know. I still loved her. I hated her for what she did, but that didn't kill the love. It just buried it under a mountain of doubt. Jake suggested marriage counseling. "It won't erase what happened," he said, "but maybe it'll help you figure out if there's anything left worth saving." That night, Emma brought it up too. She asked if I'd be willing to go to therapy with her. She didn't beg. She didn't cry. She just looked exhausted and said, "I know I broke something, but I want to try if you'll let me." There was something honest in her voice. Not defensive, not manipulative, just broken. I told her I'd think about it. Later, I watched her from the kitchen doorway as she sat in the living room with Sophie, brushing her hair and singing softly. It was a song Emma used to sing to her when she was a baby, something about sunshine and sleepy stars. And I realized, painfully, that the woman I was angry at was still the same person who held my daughter's tiny hands when she took her first steps, who cried with me in the hospital when Sophie was born early, who once danced barefoot in our kitchen because our anniversary dinner burned and we decided to laugh instead of cry. But now, that version of her felt far away, like a photograph left too long in the sun, faded and distant. I wanted to go back to before, to fix it, but there's no time machine, no rewind button. Even if we tried to rebuild, trust wouldn't come easy. I'd always wonder what she was doing when she looked down at her phone and smiled. I'd always second-guess her late nights or cancel plans. Still, part of me wanted to try. For Sophie, for the life we built, for the love that hadn't completely died yet, even if it was barely breathing. The guest room wasn't a permanent solution, but I didn't know if our bedroom could ever feel like home again either. So I just lay there night after night, eyes open, asking myself the same question over and over. Is surviving a betrayal the same thing as healing from it? Because right now, I was only surviving. 2 weeks after her confession, I packed a duffel bag and left. Not permanently. At least, that wasn't the plan. I told Emma I needed space to think, that staying under the same roof, even if we were in separate rooms, felt like trying to heal in a burning building. She didn't fight me on it. She just nodded. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. I think we were both too exhausted for that. I moved into Jake's guest room. He cleared out a space for me and stocked the fridge with beers and frozen pizza, like we were 22 again. I appreciated it more than I let on. Being in a different place, away from the silence and tension of our house, gave me room to breathe again. The first few days I avoided thinking. I threw myself into work, went to the gym, watched mindless TV. But at night, lying awake in a strange bed, my mind wouldn't shut off. I thought about the way Emma used to curl up against me in the middle of the night without even realizing it. How she used to laugh at my bad jokes, or how we used to debate over which Disney princess Sophie would pick as her favorite. How easily those things slipped away when we stopped trying. But mostly, I thought about that word, choice. Emma made a choice. Not once, but again and again to lie to me, to invest her time, her thoughts, her attention into another man. Even if nothing physical ever happened, she gave him the parts of her I used to hold sacred. Her trust, her honesty, her vulnerability. And now, the choice was mine. Stay and try to rebuild, or walk away and try to start over. One night, maybe 5 days into my stay at Jake's, Emma called. I almost didn't pick up, but something told me to answer. She didn't ask me to come back. She just said, "I wanted you to know I've started seeing a therapist. On my own, not just for couple stuff." I didn't say anything right away. She continued, "I know I hurt you, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. I owe you that much." It was the most honest thing she'd said to me since this started. We ended the call after a few minutes, but that conversation stuck with me. It didn't erase the betrayal, but it chipped away at some of the anger. A few days later, she sent a picture of Sophie holding a drawing. Me, her, and Emma. All three of us, smiling, stick-figure hands joined together. The caption said, "I miss you, Daddy." I stared at that picture for a long time, and I cried. Not angry tears, not bitter ones, just sadness. Grief for the family that used to feel effortless. I didn't go back right away, but I did start therapy too. My own. I needed to understand why it still hurt so much even though I wasn't ready to leave completely. Why I felt both love and resentment at the same time. Why I couldn't bring myself to say it was over. Eventually, Emma and I agreed to try counseling together. No promises, no pressure to fix everything. Just a space to talk, really talk for the first time in months. Our first session was hard, uncomfortable, but for the first time, I saw something I hadn't seen in a while. Emma trying to reach me. Not with excuses or guilt, but with honesty. And maybe hope. I still don't know where we'll end up. Maybe we'll find a way back to each other. Maybe we'll learn how to separate with dignity and still co-parent with love. But I know one thing now. Walking away for a while wasn't a sign of giving up. It was the first time in months I chose myself. My sanity. My healing. And I think I needed that more than I realized.